everybody, welcome back to Redneck Workshop 1. Greg. Today we're going to be replacing the water pump on an F250XA Yamaha 4-stroke. It's really not that difficult. You can get the entire rebuild kit for about 90 bucks off of eBay, and many different places will ship them. But do yourself a favor. It's not that hard. Don't pay a whole lot of money for somebody else to do this. One thing I will say is make sure that you do use Yamaha approved parts. It comes in a nice kit. Right here, gentlemen, Yamaha parts, 6P2W0078-001 kit. Everything comes in the box, from your impeller, all the nuts, bolts, new housing, gasket, mid plate, everything in one nice kit. So it's really the way to go, and it's not that difficult. So let's get started. First off, what you want to do is you want to tilt your engine all the way up so it's easy to get to, and I'm going to try to get y'all to where y'all can see this. There are a total of 9 bolts that hold the lower unit on. There's 6 on the outside, 1 here, and 1 behind your trim tab here, sacrificial metal. You have to pull this rubber plug out, and inside there's a 12mm bolt. All the rest of them are 14. These, I suggest using a wrench because you can't get a socket in there and you don't want to tear up the paint. This one's 14, the one under here is 14, and this one's a 12mm. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I know where the trim tab was pointed. You can take a marker and mark it. Remove this bolt. Inspect everything. Make sure this is still serviceable and good. Set that to the side. Next thing, everything else is 14mm. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this bolt here out. One thing you need to remember is the 6 side bolts, and this bolt right here, are all the same length. The only one that is different length is this one right here that was hidden by the trim tab. It's a long one, so don't get them mixed up. See, that one there is a long one, so you make sure you don't get those mixed up. Okay, at this point, we're going to switch over to a wrench because you just really can't get a ratchet into this. And we're going to take the 6 forward bolts out. Just takes a couple of minutes, a little longer because we're having to use a wrench. And I will go ahead and tell y'all this is the first time these engines have ever had their water pumps replaced, so some things are a little tight and sticky because it ain't never been apart. But this is all part of a 100-hour service. These engines have a total of 200 hours in them. First service was done, but the water pumps were fine, so we didn't replace them. But this is the second year, so they definitely need to be replaced. And from here on out, they will be replaced every season. These 6 bolts out, we'll very slowly lower the lower unit down, and we'll go put it in the vise where we have some towels set up so that we bite on the lower skeg, not onto the housing, where we can work on it fairly easily. Again, all we're doing is removing these 6 bolts. It's always a good idea to also loosen them all up at the same time, and then you can go back and fully remove them. Okay, now that we're on the last one, this is the one where we need to start supporting the unit and make sure it doesn't come crashing down on the ground or on your foot. A, it would be painful. B, it would be expensive. And that should be that. Your unit slides right down and out. Now that we're at this point, I want to take a look up in here, make sure there's no major corrosion, issues. Make sure the pickup tube's clean. Surfaces don't have a lot of corrosion and other issues. Then we move inside. Now once inside here, I'm going to try to get you set up where you can see good. And try to get y'all situated where you got a good angle to see what I'm doing here. Now on this unit, this is the input shaft, this is your gear selector, this is water out, this is the speedo tube. There's a little orifice right here, and that's what the motor gets its speed sensor from. Exhaust, you need a 12mm wrench, and there's 4 bolts. I like to loosen them all 4 very carefully right off the bat. Now these are not grillet in place, so there's no need to over tighten them. It's just a plastic housing. Now the one nice thing about the Yamaha kit is it does include new bolts for this, so you will not reuse these. The only ones that you reuse are these 3 from holding the gear shift plated down. Now one thing that I do is, before I go pulling stuff off, you notice there's a little surface rust on the main shaft. So what I do, once I get these out, and these we will be discarding, is I take a piece of 3M Scotch-Brite, and I just kind of try to take the bulk of the rustiness off. And then it's just a matter of wiggling that boy up, and off it comes. There you have your water pump, the stainless steel inner liner, the O-ring seal, and there's another O-ring up in here. This is a seal that seals the outlet pipe for the water. And then what I like to do is, on these motors, they are directional. So what I do is I look to see which way these are laid back. That means it's turning in a counterclockwise method. So I like to put an arrow to show which way this motor's turning, so that I put this back in correctly. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First off, we're going to come over here and we'll take a look at things. Get you a close-up shot here of this. The keyway, these 2 little dowel pins get replaced, and this plate here comes off. Here's the water up, comes up through here, and then goes out through that top tube. Now one thing we will do here in just a second is we will take this forward plate off. And it is a 2 12s and 1 10mm. Now these 3 bolts you will reuse. And then this little plate comes off. We'll make sure that's clean. This is a rubber O-ring seal. We'll make sure that's not damaged anywhere. Now this little keyway right here can sometimes be a real fun thing to get out. So we're going to try this right off the bat. Okay, once we get the key out, it's nice and cleaned up, no burrs. We took the Scotch-Brite, knocked all the rust off of this. Next thing to come off is this plate here, and there's a gasket here. The next are these two pins. We want to inspect in here, make sure we don't see any major corrosion, things missing, chunks taken out. Once we're satisfied that that's all clean and good, you grab your handy dandy vice grips and these two pins get replaced. And you just simply grab them and pull them right out. And I do take a shot of air. Make sure everything's good and cleaned out. Then in that big box of parts, there's a little bag containing two new pins. That's the first thing I replace. And everything I do gets just a little touch of anti-seize. That way when I take this apart again, it's easy. Now these pins don't go in real far, so you don't have to. I just put a little tap. They pretty much seat by hand, and then I just give them a little tap, show that I like them, and that they're in place. And inside that box from Yamaha comes the new gasket. Now just remember, this gasket will only go on one way. This pin here goes over here, so we simply place that on there over those pins. And it also comes with a new stainless steel wear plate. And you see the 6P2 that goes up. Simply place that over that, and that's pretty much ready to go. Now, at this point in time, we're going to move over here where we're going to work on the water pump housing. Get you readjusted here where you can see what's going on. Okay, with a new engine, here's the housing. What you do is you take a screwdriver and you very carefully back and forth until you get this inner housing in there. At the factory, they put a little bit of RTV in there to make it stick because this is all mechanically done. But after that, we're not going to do that anymore because it makes it very difficult to get out. Once you clean up the inside of the housing, get all the residue out of there. Take a little bit of high quality waterproof grease. Now in that kit also comes the new bolts I told you about. That's what holds the pump in place. Not that you necessarily have to replace them, but I call that cheap insurance. And the kit also comes the main housing O-ring. There's the old one, don't get them mixed up. And the new inner housing O-ring. And then here is the new key that drives the water pump. So we have all that brand new. And then last but not least, we have the Yamaha water pump impeller. Now notice this side is all solid. The bottom side has the keyway in it. So this, you automatically know it always goes down like this, so that it goes on and it slides up over this key just like this, and that's what drives the pump, but it won't let it come up because it's solid up there. Now, knowing that, we look at the old one, there's the keyway, so we know it goes like this, so we know this one goes like that, and you can see this water pump has had a little bit of wear. It was definitely time to be replaced. Now, once you get the housing clean, and this is again why I like this kit, it even comes with the new stainless steel inner housing. It has 2 alignment tabs. First thing you do is you take your new O-ring and you sit it down where it belongs. Now what I have is some pure silicone, and I put just a little dab down inside there. Now I take a little bit of waterproof grease just to keep things from locking up, but I mean it's just a very, very, very light coating. Now you can see this lip here goes in this little recess here. Those 2 little tabs go down and lock into these little holes here. There is 3 of them, but there's only 2 tabs. You can't put it in this way because the lip hits, so it only goes in one way. And once they go in correctly, that sits in there flat and it's completely flat. Now at this point in time, I do put just a tiny bit of waterproof grease just to help that impeller on that initial startup when it's, and my O-ring fell out, so we got to put that back in. So we got to make sure that O-ring stays in there because that's what seals. So make sure we clock that correctly, get those tabs lined up, and it should go right down and in. There we go. Mr. O-ring's in place. Now, this is where it gets fun. We have to compress these fingers in the proper direction. So we got to make them go this way, because remember, we've got a little arrow saying it turns that direction. So what I do is I just literally start the pump in here with my fingers, and it pretty much lines itself up with the shaft. Now I know it's in there and it's correct. So your water pump should be like that. Remember, our rotation was that way, we marked it, so all our fingers are going correctly. Now I take a little bit more of this silicone and I put it in a couple of key spots to hold this O-ring in. Now this O-ring goes in that little channel and you just walk it in there with your finger and there it sits. Now we're going to go put our key in. We're going to put anti-seize on the shaft and inside here, so this will slip on and off very easily. And then it's just a matter of bolting everything back up, putting the lower unit back on, and we are done with the water pump. So let's get moved back over here. Get you set back up again. Now then again, I put just a tiny bit of never seize all up and down things. Now then, A lot of you out there probably saying, that's way too much, it's going to get all over everything. You're right, this stuff gets on everything. But what I do is then take a rag and I spread it all up and down that shaft. So now the whole shaft is coated, and I know I'm not going to have a corrosion problem. And my key, you get him started, and then you gently set him in flat. Now we're ready for our water pump. Now, remember, this is the water outlet that goes up to the engine. That goes to the back. The pickup's here, which goes to the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little more of our stuff, put it on the inside of that impeller so it should slide nice and easy. We slide it up over that top of that shaft, and then we just slowly ease it down. And then we find where that keyway is. And I can't see it, so I need to find my flashlight. There it is right there. Once we find that, we slide that puppy right on up. Make sure our O-ring's in place. And you'll notice that we're out of position. We spin that around and down it goes. And that's all there is to it. Now these 4 bolts, remember they're brand new, but I was always taught anything too dissimilar metals, you always coat it with never sees, especially in a saltwater environment, which we are in. So everything gets some anti-seize. Not a lot, just enough. This stuff is kind of gets all over everything. Now, these washers have a little flat tab, and you make sure that they go back in their little pocket. And then you hand tighten. And once you got them all started, you can get your wrench and snug them back down. And what I do is I just get them all just slightly tight, working my way around. And that's just a little bit of a snug. You don't want to over tighten them, and then again you don't want to leave them too loose, so it's just a little bit of snug. Because remember, this is a fiberglass or fiber plastic housing, so you don't want to over torque it. Then our little piece goes back here with our 2 12mm bolts, or excuse me, 12mm wrench size. I shouldn't call them a 12mm bolt because that's not the actual diameter. And if y'all don't realize that, when they tell you bolts diameter size, this is the diameter of the shank, not the size of the wrench. So really, these are probably about an 8mm diameter bolt. So don't get that confused. Wrench size has nothing to do with the diameter or size of the fastener. And don't forget that little boy right there. And we'll get him home. And a snuggin. And then these. And that's it. Water pump is in and done. And the acid check turns in the proper direction. So we know we're good. And no leftover parts at this point in time. I take a little bit of Never Seas and I put it on the shifter shaft so that it's good and lubricated. Now we're going to go back out and just do the absolute reverse to put it all back together. So hold together, we just simply do the opposite of what we did to take it apart. We slide that in, that hole there, and then we carefully ease all this up, make sure our pipes hook up, and then there she goes. And hopefully y'all don't leave your bolts over there on the tray when you do it. Now it's just a matter of getting everything started and tighten back up again. Remember, tighten up your bolts evenly, consistently. If something's binding, stop, pull it back out, and try it again. This is the fun part. Just remember, there's only one different size bolt on this. And it's the one that goes on the very back end. Like I said, here's our one oddball, and it's the one that goes up in here. Done everything right, it should all just flow right together. Take your time, do it right. It's not that difficult. Anybody can do this. It's only 2 socket sizes, 9 bolts, get the whole lower unit off. And then once you get it all on there, get them all nice little snug up, and we're done. And lastly, put the trim tab on. Now, mine are all dead center because I got twins, but yours may be cocked a little bit to help with steering. Remember, you can take a Sharpie and make a little mark on it and on the motor so that you know exactly where to put it back. Tight, and don't forget your little rubber plug. And then that's pretty much it. Just finish tightening up a couple bolts, and then we'll be ready to change the oil next. We'll be